Okay, it's Peter. So, uh, Drum Monkey and Easy Drummer. Naomi was right, is the first thing. So, if we load a Drum Monkey, okay, completely new thing. If I just use it as default, and I maybe select a rock beat or something, because I think that might be what you do, and we click that. When we go into the kick drum editor, by just clicking on the sound, you can see that the MIDI note is set to C3. Okay, and if we go into the snare drum, into the editor, we can see it, that's weird, we can see it C#3, which is a bit weird. Anyway, so that's true as the default, and that's the defaults it uses. But if you've got different defaults, or you want a general MIDI kit, which actually I think I do, so I'm just going to set that to C1. No, I'm not. Hang on. Change your bugger. Right, here we go. I don't know why it didn't let me type it in. I think it probably would have done. Right, so that's now C1. I'll just do this kick in the snare, and then we go into the snare editor, and we're going to set this to D1. Let's see if it let me type that in this time without the C as well. Yeah, you see, it does let you type it in. Right, so now I've got the snare on. Hang on, let's do it again. We've got the kick drum on C1, which is general MIDI, and we've got the snare drum on D1, which is general MIDI. And I would just go through the other things like that. Now you're thinking, but you've only done it for this kit, and you're right, I kind of have. But when I do save, and I'm just gonna put the date, GM MIDI kit. I've only done 2 of the sounds, but you get the picture. Okay, we've done it. And now, what the weird thing is, okay, so remember I'm using C1 and D1, whereas before it was using some other notes, C3 and something. I can select a completely different a genre, do a completely different sound set. Okay, I can generate different rhythms, and I can generate different sounds, whatever I want to do. And when I go into the editor, it's still a C1 for the kick drum, and D1 for the snare. Okay, so it's remembered it. Even though we change genres and kits, all we have to do is just dial up the preset when we start. That's not the preset. I dial up the preset when we start. Okay, and then I had another kit, which I did as a practice, and you can see that this kick drum is actually on B1. B2, sorry. And again, I can do completely different style. Okay, do whatever I want, change the sounds, change the rhythms, and it's still going to say on B2. And when you drag these out, to export them, that's where they're going to be. So let me prove that to you. Let me go back. Right, so that's the kit. So I'm just going to, actually, sorry, I don't even know if you can see that. But anyway, I'm just going to drag the composite MIDI. Okay, and if we look into it, actually I could have done that a bit easier to be honest, but anyway, let me look at it in the keyboard editor. You can see that it's actually nowhere there. It's actually, what was it? It was B2, isn't it? Hang on, where am I? And there it is. Yeah, B2, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to delete that. Okay, I'm going to go back into Drum Monkey, select my preset. I keep going there. Select my preset for my GM kit. I'm going to do a completely different style. I'm going to generate the drums. I'm going to just look at the editor, and there it is on C1 and D2 for the snare. And then I'm going to just drag the composite MIDI track over to that. Okay, and if we look at that in the editor, let's get rid of that. We can see that we have C1 for the kick drum and D2 for the snare. Okay, so it's done it. Now you're going to say to me, but it won't remember that when we do it from scratch. And so let me prove that to you. So we're just going to remove the track and the instrument. There we are. This is obviously in Presonus Studio One, which is what I use. I don't know Twitch or whatever it's called. Right, we just drag that in again. It'll create its own track. Blah 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 blah. And all I've got to do is to remember to select my preset. There it is. GM kit. Okay, now I can produce any style that I want. Let's do pop. Okay, and we look at it in the editor. You can see it's C1 on the kick drum, D2 on the snare. Okay, it's remembered it. Again, we can generate patterns to our heart's content. We can change the sounds. We can do a different genre. Oops, there we go, different genre. And we look in the editor, and it's still C1 and D2, and you're saying, but it's not going to export. It's not going to export. But here we go. Composite MIDI track. Drag it in. I don't know if you're seeing that. I hope you are. Anyway, and have a look at it. Let's look at the key editor just because it makes sense. What did we do? C1 and D2. So, no, where's my C1? Sorry, that was unexpected. Yeah, let's look at Drum Monkey. Oh, we didn't have a kick. Oh, okay, we didn't have a kick drum thing. That's just a different pattern because the kick drum didn't come into a bar, whatever that was. That's better. Right, there's the kick drum. Right, let me just do that again because the kick drum wasn't playing until bar, whatever it is. Okay, right, there we go. I haven't cheated though. Dragging the composite MIDI. Okay, get rid of that again. Right, now we can see there's the kick drum on C1 and there's the snare drum on D1. Sorry, that's it. And it's done it. Okay, so it does do it in Drum Monkey. It will remember it, even between power boots and whatever. But you've just got to remember that when you start, you have to select the preset to be whatever your kit is that you've saved. So I'm saving it as General MIDI kit. Okay, and now I can do whatever I want in any style I want, change any sounds, patterns I want, and it will still remember it. And if we look in the editor, which is where you change it, there it is on C1. So if that's the kick drum on Easy Drummer, do that. And if the snare drum's on D1, then do that. Okay, so that's if you want to do it in Drum Monkey itself. But let me just show you how easy it is, or not, with Drum Monkey Standard. So I'm going to go back to let's do that. I'm just going to generate a new style. Okay, we've got some beats in beat 1, and this will be the normal Drum Monkey mapping, which is C3 and then C sharp 3, which is really odd mapping actually, for the snare. Okay, so that sounds over its sound, we don't really care. We'll just drag the composite MIDI in. Actually, I'm just going to make it easier for myself, if you don't mind. I'm just going to mute the others. Oh, just so I only get those two, so I don't confuse myself. Right, so we drag the composite MIDI in onto the track. Okay, I'm going to turn Drum Monkey off because that will confuse me in a minute. Right, and if we look in the key editor, we can see it is indeed gone to C3 for the kick drum and C sharp 3 for the snare. Sorry. Right, so if we just change to the drum editor, okay, all we need to do for this, let's get rid of that. Right, all we need to do for this is just select that line of beats. Okay, it was as easy as that. There is a select all thing for particular notes, but it's more complicated than it's worth, I think. Anyway, we've selected all the notes, and if you look over here, it says C3. Now we know that we want to use a GM drum kit, or I do anyway, and that's going to be C1 for the kick drum. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing for the snare. Yeah, there we go. And the snare wants to be D1 for General MIDI kit, which I think is what 10 tracks is. I'm not 100% sure. There we go. And it doesn't update instantly, which is annoying. But if I just close it and open it again, you'll see that it is now indeed C1 and D1, and it isn't playing on Drum Monkey because that's not where Drum Monkey is at the moment. I could go in and change it, but I don't need to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move that composite MIDI track, that's why I use the composite one to make it easy, onto ezdrummer. Here's my ezdrummer. Okay, presumably that's going to be C1 and D1, and maybe it will play. Yeah, it might be it actually. Hang on, I've muted it. That's not so clever. There you go. Boom, tish, boom, tish. Okay, I don't know what pattern I had. But anyway, but there is the kick drum on C1, and there is the snare on D1. Okay, and I didn't map the other symbol, you know, the symbol and all that nonsense. But there is, and that's how easy it is to do. And I think if you sorry, back on this track, I think if you save this as a preset, I think it will do it. I'm not 100% sure of that, but you know, at worst for each song you would just do that once and it would be done, and then you just literally can move it to the ezdrummer track, and then it will play the right sounds. There you go, kick and snare. Right, but it's obviously easier to actually do it in Drum Monkey and set the sounds that you want. You just go into edit for any one kit you like, okay, and then you change it and then you save your preset, and when you want it back you just call the preset back. So exactly, we've already saved it up, so just recall our GM kit preset. Okay, we can check it instantly and it's gone to C1 and D1 for the snare, but I can still, you know, generate any genre I want. I can change the sounds to my heart's content. I can change the rhythms to my heart's content. And if I go in to look at the editor, it is indeed still on C1. And just to, you know, make my life easy, I'm just going to mute the others. And if I just drag, because I haven't edited them anyway, and if I drag that composite MIDI part over, let's bring it there, sorry, that was the old one, then it is indeed on C1 and D1, and I can now drag it straight into ezdrummer, come back ezdrummer, all's forgiven, and play it. Okay, that's some weird kit. Latin and Cuban, so that's why it sounds a bit odd. Or I can play it back in Drum Monkey, whatever I want to do, and it's as easy as that. I don't think that's too hard at all. So yeah, that's that. And just because you're wondering, you're probably wondering, why did I keep saying composite MIDI track? Because I like it to be all in one place, and that's what works well with ezdrummer. But let me show you. Hang on, so there it is, remove track. Let me show you that if we're in into Drum Monkey, everything's called the same damn thing, and we bring the MIDI stems over, okay, it will bring them all over. Sorry, that was just because I muted those. Let me just mute those, get rid of those again. So if I bring the MIDI stems over, there we are. Then you get all the tracks. But the principle will be the same. But you'll see, even with the single tracks, so I'm just wondering why that was different. What did I do? Hang on, let me just double check that I did my preset. Hang on. Right, so if I bring my preset in, okay, in fact I can even leave it on that pattern, I think, maybe. Anyway, sorry, there's the kick on C1, and then there's the snare on D1. Alright, and then if I bring the composite sorry, if I bring the MIDI stems over. Okay, there we go. Unless it's... Ah, that's interesting. Okay, alright. So I didn't know that. So the MIDI stems do not get edited by the drum note. Okay, because they've still got that same... In fact, they all go on C3, actually. So the stems are a bit of a disaster. So don't use the Drum Monkey stems if you're going to play it with a different kit. But if we use the composite MIDI, there it is, MIDI combined. Okay, now it is using the drum mapping that we had, C1 and D1. I didn't move the hi-hat, but if I had done it, would have moved. And that's it. And so that's easy. That's the easiest way of doing it. So, you know, just call up your preset for the Easy Drummer kit, which I think will be a general MIDI kit. So it's going to be, you know, kick on C1, snare on D1, and so forth. You can go Google that, and then save it as a preset, and then just call that preset up when you start, and then you can do whatever you like. Okay, and if you use the composite MIDI, okay, and not the stem MIDI, because the stem MIDI is all on C3 for some reason. So if you use the composite MIDI, it will use the notes that you have set in the editor for each sound. So there's my kick on C1, and there's my snare on D2. Okay, that's it. Talk to you then. Bye bye for now. Especially if I could stop the thing. Hang on. Always I'm arrogant when I do that.